Hello and welcome back to another episode of Kerbal Space Program in the series we're calling KSP POV, where we play Kerbal Space Program in first person. We use a series of mods that will all be listed in the description below. Today we are going to be landing a probe. We have been losing a lot of our probes due to limited satellite connections and an improper network. But we have that all fixed now. We've got satellites around the Mun, as we saw in the last episode, so we should have coverage to control our probe at all times. So I'm just going to go through here real fast and see if there's any missions I can pick up. We're going to be grabbing this one in the next episode. But for now, the one that I grab is to test this Mach 1 lander can. We're going to do that because we plan on landing some Kerbals on the Mun very shortly after. So let's go ahead and launch into this. This is, of course, the Ascension's Hope 2 that we built at the end of the last episode. So we go ahead and start, and then we realize we don't have any cams on this, and we can't have a lunar lander without any cams. We need to be able to see this new rocky terrain that we have. So go ahead and bring it back to the VA to put some cameras on there. And of course, we're using the whole camera's VDS mod to do this. It does integrate pretty well with the RPM monitors that we're using for the internal view. These cameras, however, I was not too happy with. As we see here, there's a big circle in the center of it, and I don't know how to fix that, so I go ahead and revert it and change them out for the booster cams, which are tried and true and I know work well. We just go ahead and throw that. I want one for landers, so it's pointing straight down, preferably with one of the lander legs in view. And then I have one sticking straight out to the side and one that's angled slightly down to give us just some options. And as you can see here, the camera showed up, and so we are getting ready to go. So we throttle up, not all the way because these Bullard engines are pretty powerful. The Bullards are from Ven's parts, I believe. Ven's stock revamp parts. But anyways, we are going to be starting a gravity turn here pretty soon, and it's a pretty standard flight, not as rocky as the one last time when we used the flea boosters as separatrons. Just made a quick little check to make sure both cameras were working, which is risky because sometimes it glitches out and then the lower camera isn't available anymore. So we go ahead and separate the side boosters. Nice, we're high enough level they shouldn't destroy anything below them. And we're just going to fast forward a little bit until we're higher up in the atmosphere and just go pretty quickly until we reach our next stage, which is dropping off there. And as you see there, my camera is no longer pointed at anything, so we just get a view of Kerbal instead. And so we're kind of pulling this a little bit close. Our time to apoapsis is dropping, and we're not really being able to extend our periapsis fast enough. So I try to maintain control. I try to do a balance between prograde and radial out, which is pointed away from the planet surface to an attempt to raise my apoapsis a little bit. But it's quickly becoming apparent that this is going to be a wash. So I decided to just do a little bit of science, see if there's anything I can grab. And of course, the onboard camera experiment always seems to have some amount of science that I can grab. So we go ahead and do that. And then we wait until we're into space, and then we go ahead and do the second science experiment. Again, only the camera, but you know, at least according to Bill, I believe it's Bill. Bill is a scientist. According to the scientist Kerbals, that's all that matters. But the engineers are not very happy. We couldn't. Not only could we not make it to the moon, but we couldn't even really get into orbit. So there's definitely going to need to be some headbanging to figure out how to fix this. And then I get some weird glitch with my camera, and Kerbal decides to be just a ball of black. We can see the atmosphere, but nothing else, and so a little bit disappointed with that. But the whole camera mod isn't perfect. I believe the raster prop monitor works with other kind of camera mods. I just haven't tried them out. So yeah, so we actually lost connection. We lost connection to the satellite for some reason, but thankfully we had pressed our descent action group to get the parachute out. But of course, we came down with more mass than the parachutes were set for, so we broke it. And we're playing with minimal reverts, so of course we have to just eat the cost of that rocket and try again. So we go ahead and reload the craft. Should have given it another name. Should have added like a number in that series to note that it was the second run of this, but I did not. And so now I'm just naming the cameras to hopefully give it a little bit more ease. But I basically just slapped 2 more fuel tanks and some swivel engines on the side. And they're going to be what fires after the lower stage to get us not only into space, but into our orbit as well. And then once we have the orbit, the Terrier engine, or the Beagle engine, will take over and take us to the mud. Alright, so this launch should be the one. Everything is planned and accounted for. I didn't do a simulation of it. I could have spent a little bit of money and done a simulation, just like been sure that it makes it to space and makes it to orbit and has enough delta V to get to the mud and back. But I didn't. I decided to just kind of go with my gut and say that more boosters will be the solution here. It's kind of nice watching the planet slowly drift away from you. So gravity turn is fine. We throttle down a little bit so that way we don't go too fast and acquire too many G's and potentially rip parts of our craft off. And a clean separation. I'm keeping an eye on my thrust to weight ratio. I want to make sure that it's not too low as well. And then here's where I realized I didn't put any fins on it. I was expecting at any moment to start flipping out, but thankfully it didn't matter all that much, and we were able to keep it pretty steady. I think maybe the even balance of weight between the bottom engine and the whole payload on top, I think, kept it straight. But it's not good to forget wings. I could have scrubbed this whole mission. Just keeping an eye on the fuel left in the stage. So this probe is going to be coming, is meant to come back. We have 2 missions that this probe is going to be fulfilling. One is to simply land on the Mun, and then the other one is to orbit the Mun, land, and then return. So hopefully this is going to complete both those contracts. And then the other contracts that we have is to scan the surface of the Mun, and so that's just being passively done. So hopefully by the end of this mission we will have completed several contracts and we'll be sitting on a larger chunk of money. Then maybe we can start upgrading things or funding more complicated missions. I'm excited to create our first space station, a little docking station where we can come up and potentially refuel for another mission to go farther, and then eventually build and expand on that, put a science lab, and then start doing science around Kerbal and bringing it up there to study and gain more. Or maybe just sending it straight up to the moon and just having it take all the moon science. So yeah, so now these 2 engines are ready to do their job of circularizing our burn. I didn't bring it high enough. I didn't bring it too high, which I probably could have done. I probably could have let it go a little bit longer. Just been a little bit more safe with my apoapsis, but that didn't happen. And so now we staged off. We're out on the Beagles, which is basically equivalent to a Terrier. Again, then stock revamp mod. So at first I tried to just burn straight to see if I could make a lunar encounter, but of course I cannot. So instead I just delete that and just continue my burn as normal. I go ahead and hit deploy, so I got my solar panels out. I'm feeling confident about this, so because I didn't hit deploy in the last one, because I kind of knew that I was already coming back, but I'm feeling hopeful. So I go ahead and point myself prograde and keep burning, and I fast forward through that, but as you see, I discarded that lower stage, took the whole amount of my fuel, but as you see in the bottom right, I have orbit. So now it's a matter of plotting the maneuver out to the Mun, and for some reason I can't help but get polar orbits or near polar orbits. I tried to go equatorial, but this is what I had to deal with. So I decided I'm going to try to land in the crater over there. So I'm going to aim to go straight over the top, and then just not even go for an orbit, just go straight for a landing. Because I do have a network set up around here, but this still is going to be the far side of the Mun compared to Kerbal, where the KSP is going to be. So if I could just do this all in one go, that would be great. So now we got a nice shot of Kerbal in this little island to the east of the KSP. Like it. I feel like I want to explore it at some point. Seems kind of nice. Maybe put a small research base there. Maybe put one of the seismographers. And then I go to put the craft to hibernate while it warps. And I warp it out a little bit. Then, oh yeah, this was that mod that I talked about in the last episode where I got to hide the orbit lines of the craft. So, even though the remote tech signal lines are going to be there, everything else is going to be hidden. So I regained connection just in time for the maneuver node, but it doesn't matter because I already plotted it into the flight computer. And so the probe goes ahead and makes the burn, and we'll definitely have enough delta V to get there and land, but coming back is starting to become a question. We were planning on that previous stage to be the one to take us at least to make this maneuver, but we're having to we burnt up a quarter of our tanks already. So I go ahead and readjust to get a more precise burn and landing, and I adjust my throttle and then come back again just to find the right balance between long enough and not too long. And then I noticed that my control room went out, so I didn't really think anything of it. I'm just like, okay, maybe it's glitched, so I'll go into map screen for a little bit while I plot this maneuver. But what I didn't notice is in the top left corner, it says no signal. I had lost signal to my craft. So I'm just trying to get myself to aim at the maneuver node, and I'm struggling to. It's not working. And then I realize I have no signal, so I fast forward, but then I should have signal to the KSC. I'm directly above it. So I'm trying to figure out, and I see, oh, my batteries are dead, and oh, lo and behold, it's because we have an eclipse. I have no charge because out of all the times we had to get an eclipse. So I have a little chuckle. I fast forward time a little bit and let my sweat panels warm up, and we point normally. But I enjoyed that, and thankfully it wasn't too detrimental to our mission. You know, it didn't cause any major loss. I think in outer planets, farther planets away, it could definitely be more of a problem. But for now, it was a fun little issue. So I'm just making a very, very tiny burn to just adjust it, but I throttled down my thrust, so it would take a while, just to be precise. And there you go. So I go ahead and plot in my landing maneuver. Again, it's going to be taken care of by the remote text flight computer. And I go to aim to land in the Far East crater right there. Just kind of generally around the middle of it. I don't want to land on a slope as much as I can, even though there's tiny little craters within it, so you can't really guarantee that you're going to land in some flat land, but at least it's more of a guarantee than some of the rest of them. So I go ahead and time warp, get close into the encounter. And I'm doing this in the map view because time warping in the probe control room can sometimes cause it to glitch out, so it's just safer to do it in either map view or EVA mode, but I'm trying to limit how often I go into EVA mode, make it for very specific reasons. So even though the MUD is digitalized there, it's nice to see it. And then we go and we get our first view of it from our cameras. And then that's about the time when we met our maneuver point. We came in first circularization burn. We still have a bit of fuel, so it might not be bad. It depends on how much fuel we take for landing, if we get a nice efficient landing or not. Oh, there's Kerbal. Hi, Kerbal. Go ahead and kill Rotec. And the ScanSat map isn't really showing me a lot of information. I was a little disappointed in that. Alright, so we are now on a trajectory to collide with the MUD. So I go ahead and hop over to this crash specialist desk, which has limited buttons, basically designed to for landing. So I've got my landing screen here. I'm also going to be using Flight Engineer, and actually going to be putting a lot of faith in Flight Engineer because it gives us a countdown for our suicide burn. And So we're gonna be trusting it and putting the fate of this mission in that mod's hands. So I bring up the map up there, but again, it's not very helpful because it's just a mess of purple. I think it's supposed to be the biome map, but I think some pieces are missing, and it's kind of impossible to tell where we are on it. So I don't really pay attention to that. It's a mess. Maybe when we get better information, or it's probably not even complete. That might be why. So I'm getting nervous. I'm just doing a little burn right there because I'm not sure that I want to trust flight engineer, but I just hold my breath and quickly descend to the surface. Our vertical speed is going up, but we wait for the 0 and then we hit the engines. We drop our landing gear for good this time. Our vertical speed is going down, and the burn calculator actually was too soon. We killed off most of our velocity well before reaching the surface. It wasn't a suicide burn at all. So we're gonna just time warp ahead a little bit, get a little bit closer. Once again, relying on the flight engineer, but that sent us back into an ascent. So we're gonna stop paying attention to that and just kind of eyeball ourselves, trust our own judgment. We come down, and we're only about a couple meters per second, and once again we flip because our engine is fairly powerful for how small of a craft we are. To see my shadow up over there in the distance gives me an idea of how high into the air I got, how much time I have. But I go ahead and lock into retrograde pretty easily, and then come down ever so slightly, ever so gently. And even though our slope angle is in the red at 11 points, we landed successfully. We got ourselves an achievement, and we are on the MUN, everybody. Go ahead and do a quick save. Now I try to get my cameras working, but for some reason, no matter which desk I went to, the camera wasn't going. So I decided to just take a quick second on EVA to activate the camera, and hopefully that would do it. And of course but luckily enough, that actually was what did it. So we were able to have our internal command center view of what we were seeing, big old solar panel. But very much enjoyed it, and now we are collecting science from the surface of the MUN, the very first stuff we did. And then I decided to store all it, but I realized that the Delta V might not be enough to go home, so I went in and I just went to transmit all of it. I didn't have any kind of way of doing that from inside the probe control room, so I decided to just come out and click on the communications dish. And so now I'm fast forwarding some time, trying to see if I can find an efficient exit point to launch out from. And as I'm time warping, I don't pay attention, and my finger hits the shift key. And just ever so slightly, ever so gently, I start to ascend. I don't pay attention to this. I just fast forward a little bit more, and then suddenly the Ascension Hope 2 is no more. Our hope is gone. But that science was transmitted successfully, so we can call this a win. One of our contracts didn't require us to come back, so that contract will be completed, and we will we'll try again soon, but maybe this time with a Kerbal. But that is all I have for now, so thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.